Namaste. When you're teaching poses, in order to feel really confident about the poses you're teaching, you need to be able to feel the poses in your body. And from that experience, you'll be able to create the cues that you need in order to get your students into those poses. So I encourage you to get into every single pose, feel how it feels in your body, and after each pose, make notes to yourself. What felt right, what felt wrong, what minor adjustments did you make in order to get that feeling of like, yeah, this pose feels good. So it's good to feel it in your body, and that helps you know how to cue. It also helps to know the benefits of each pose, as well as the contraindications. The way that I handle this myself, because there's a lot of poses, so some of them it's very obvious what the benefits are, and some of them you might draw a blank. So what I like to do is just divide the poses into standing poses, seated poses, flexibility poses, balancing poses, and strength poses. And that way in my mind I can identify what pose am I in. I'm in tree pose. This is a standing balance pose. And so then I can access what I know are the benefits of standing and balancing poses, and I can sort of spout that off to students. So in addition to getting into the pose yourself and cueing the person into the pose, you want to have a little bit of languaging to go with their experience, because even though ideally the breath and just being in the pose is enough, sometimes when we're going from being sedentary to being in motion, or to kind of making ourselves get into these poses, it's really good to have not a distraction, but something to focus on other than, oh gosh, I'm really tight, oh my back. You know, whatever the pose might elicit for the person, it's good for them to have your words to hang on to, where you say, this pose is for strength. And you say you might be shaking as you hold this pose with your core, and that's just because it's a core strengthening pose. Know that every time you quiver, with every shake, you're building that core strength. Kind of like that. So when you give them something to think about and digest, it doesn't take away from the pose, but it does help to give them something else to concentrate on. And I feel that in the beginning of a yoga class, we usually talk more than we do toward the end, because once a person is warmed up physically, they're sort of emotionally and spiritually warming up as well, and they're ready to drop into that more internal focus. And that's really where they're going to get the most benefit. Even when we're in a classroom full of people, really the class is just for ourselves. So there's the Sangha, the community of being together, but then there's also just this way that we need to turn inward. So you'll use less and less verbiage the farther into a class you get. Especially in a yin class, I recommend giving students at least 1 full minute of complete silence. And you can even let them know that you're going to be giving them that silence, so that they're not wondering, why is nothing happening? Let them know they can be with their own inner wisdom, with their own thoughts, with their own breath. And working with the time clock sort of addresses the left brain while we're doing a very right brain practice. So we're bringing in some time and scheduling to let them know what to expect, so that they can allow their right brain to just be, to exist, to breathe, to notice, to be in that Vijnanamaya state. So I hope that's helpful for you when you're working with poses in a class, teaching them to your students.